see the kids and Abby. They got a new puppy, right? Regular meeting of Clear Lake City Council on Monday, November 1st, 2021 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To the consent agenda, you have a copy of the minutes of October 18th, 2021. We need approval of the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy. And we have the following license: excavator license, Country Landscapes, and that's a renewal. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mike, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now is the time and place for anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on any issue or concern. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter it in the minutes. This is not a discussion time nor a question and answer time, but it is an opportunity for you to speak to the council. None appearing. We'll move on to unfinished business, of which we have none. We'll go directly to number 6, new business. 6A, proposal to sell certain real property owned by the city to Reagan Signs. Review, Mr. Flory. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The items in your packet are in the purple sheets. So that first purple sheet is resolution to take the additional action under Iowa Code Section 364.7 to dispose of the city's interest in certain real property. Then the next purple sheet is a copy of the notice that was published in the Clear Lake Mirror Reporter on October 20th. As I mentioned previously, the city's been working with Reagan Signs out of Rochester, Minnesota, on a proposal to sell certain real property owned by the city. This was a piece that we had acquired by quitclaim deed from the Iowa DOT back in 2010. Reagan currently has 3 billboard structures that are located on private property on the north side of US Highway 18 between North 14th and North 20th Street. These structures would be eventually removed and a new LED-style billboard constructed on this parcel that the city is contemplating selling to Reagan. And just in the way of comparison, Reagan has a similar sign up by the new Quick Star there in Mason City on Eisenhower on the fairgrounds property under a lease with the North Iowa Fairgrounds. The city-owned parcel is not a buildable lot, and it's only been mowed by the city for many years now. The proposal to sell the land, again, is about 11,337 square feet, is for $1 a square foot. Removal of the existing billboards along US Highway 18 and this stretch between North 14th and North 20th will also help further economic development activities in the area, as well as improve the overall aesthetics of the highway along that frontage. Again, at your meeting on October 18th, you had set the date for a public hearing for this evening, November 1st, on the proposal to dispose of our interest in this real property to Reagan Signs. And as I mentioned, the notice was published in the Clear Lake Mirror Reporter on October 20th. The resolution included in your packet fulfills the statutory requirement of taking the additional action, which is essentially holding the public hearing. Following the closing of the public hearing and passage of that resolution, then we would authorize Reagan to get onto the property, do their site diligence, so to speak, in terms of soil borings and things of that nature, and then work on the final purchase agreement with Reagan that would be acted upon once they determine for sure that the site is suitable for building the sign. So probably sometime later this winter that would be done, and their anticipated schedule would be to build this sign probably in the spring. So I don't have anything further prior to the public hearing, unless anyone has any questions. I did not receive any written communication prior to the hearing.
Council, any questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Now is the time and place for the public hearing with regard to the proposal to sell certain real property owned by the city to Reagan Signs of Rochester, Minnesota. If there's anyone who wishes to address that particular issue, please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter the minutes. None appearing, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Dana, that we close the public hearing with regard to selling certain real property owned by the city to Reagan Signs. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2154. This is a resolution taking additional action under Section 364.7 of the Code of Iowa to dispose of the city's interest in this certain real property. As Scott mentioned, this is 11,337 square feet owned by the city, and it is being sold to Reagan Signs. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, second by Bennett, that we approve Resolution 2154. Is there any discussion? Roll call, Mark,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
and Dana.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Resolution 2154 is duly adopted. 6B, Whitaker Court Sanitary Sewer Extension Project Review. Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The pink sheets in your packet address this item. I just included one. There are 11 petition and waiver forms that have been obtained by the city for this project. The 11 affected property owners have signed these voluntary petition and waiver agreements indicating their willingness to be specially assessed for the improvements that we've talked about here. So I just put one sample in your packet, but we do have all 11 partially executed. So following council approval, then we'd authorize the mayor and clerk to sign those on behalf of the city. Just in the way of some review on this, at your August 2nd meeting, the council had approved a professional services agreement with Veenstra and Kim for this project. Of course, this entails the replacement of an 8-inch gravity sewer line located on private property. That, of course, as I described before, has been in marginal condition for a very long time, and there's been a number of sewer backups there over the years. That line, again, serves 11 residential properties, and thus the 11 petition and waiver agreements. Demolition of an existing residence on 4th Avenue North is what really prompted the property owners there to sort of coalesce or organize and petition the city for these public sewer improvements. So these, again, the 8-inch sanitary sewer main. There'll also be a couple of manholes and then 11 new services constructed as part of this project. City, of course, previously had indicated its willingness to work with the property owners. As I mentioned, all the property owners are agreeable to being voluntarily specially assessed for a portion of the project costs. Under the partnership, the city is responsible for purchasing the mainline sewer pipe and materials, manholes, and then we also agreed to provide the professional engineering services for construction. City's also going to be replacing, as I mentioned previously, in relocating, there's a manhole structure there on 4th Avenue North. Going to be relocating that and building that, with a new style manhole. That was one of the old brick style manholes. And when we start looking at that, given the proximity of that to the lake and the propensity of those structures that have become aged to infiltrate water and leach into the lake, so we thought it'd be a good opportunity to replace that one while we were at this project. So that's also included on the city side of the ledger for this project. At your October 18th meeting, the council had awarded the construction contract to McKinnis Excavating and Grading in Mason City. The amount of that contract was $59,859. That was a little over 20% below what the engineer's opinion of the probable cost of construction was. So in terms of the sequence for the project, following completion of the construction and acceptance of the work by the council, the property owners, just like any other special assessment project, would then have 30 days to pay for their special assessment in full, or sometimes could pay a partial, before the clerk would then certify it over to the county treasurer for collection in the annual payment of property taxes. So I don't have anything further on that one, and I just would add that I think the contractor is anticipating, talking to Jason, starting work on it in about a week, and anticipate about a 2-week construction window there, so should see some activity there pretty quick. So.
Council, any questions, issues for Scott? So this is 11 owners, correct?
Yep, 11 affected
Go.
property owners, yes. Yeah, and it's kind of been one of those bugaboo projects for quite a while that it's going to be nice to get kind of cleaned up. Just one of those areas I think historically over the years, was built and kind of built in a way that you wouldn't do today, but they've been there a very, very long time, so we've got the opportunity to kind of clean it up.
And what would you say, about 75% cost to the owners?
Yep, about 75% cost breakdown. So in terms of that project share, about $49,343 on the city side, about $16,096, or excuse me, vice versa, $49,343 on the property owners and $16,096 on the city side.
Right. Great arrangement.
Yeah, no, I think it's very, very positive.
Any other comments, council, concern? Thank you, Scott. Therefore, I entertain a motion to approve the petition and waiver agreements with the property owners and the city council. Motion, please.
So offered. Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Bennett. Excuse me, that we approve the petition and waiver agreements with regard to Whitaker Court Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. 6C, purchase of storm sewer pipe material for RCP Investment Project. Review a quote or bid opening and recommendation on award of contract. Mr. Flores?
Yeah, I'm going to give a quick introduction, and Jason's going to review. He's provided the blue sheets there in your packet, pretty extensive letter of recommendation for this project, but just give you a few introductory comments on that before Jason reviews that letter and then his recommendation. Back again at your meeting on October 4th, the council had entered into a letter of intent with RCP Investments LLC as a developer for this particular project. RCP Investments was repurposing, of course, the five-star cooperative property located at 2809 Main Avenue into a dry goods warehouse and distribution center. That building's approximately 154,000 square feet in size and is now occupied by Greenlee Corrugated Solutions of Jessup, Iowa. Anticipated the company will employ 6 to 10 persons with potential for expansion into a multi-shift operation. And as we mentioned previously, company provides corrugated packaging for large-scale companies. If you've been by there recently, they've done a pretty significant amount of work to the property already, including adding the docks and just an overall general cleanup on the outside, and then a lot of things, of course, on the inside. That letter of intent that the council had approved contained certain incentives that included an industrial property tax exemption and the subject of this item, which is participation in sort of what we call a regional stormwater improvement project that stormwater affected not only 2809 Main Avenue, but a number of other properties kind of in the vicinity. So kind of viewed this as a win-win for not only the RCP project, but for some of the other projects in the area. The storm sewer improvements consist of a combination of 2,000 lineal feet of storm sewer, surface water drainage ways, and culverts to drain storm water from that area. Location of the new storm sewer will be, we've got easements from all of the affected property owners, and the new storm sewer will be placed in that easement that's 15-foot wide and located just north of the 4th Avenue South right-of-way line there. The estimated cost of construction for all of that is $380,000. As I mentioned in the letter of intent, our commitment is for purchasing of the storm sewer pipe material, as well as the engineering portion of this project. But the As far as the storm sewer piping itself, the letter of intent had indicated that we would participate up to $125,000 for this project. So again, we solicited competitive quotes for this from various vendors, and Jason's going to review those with you here just in a second. But I guess I don't have anything further in terms of any introductory remarks on that before Jason gives his recommendation, but just think it's really a nice project for us, and I think it's got the potential for additional improvements on that property itself on top of what's already being done with the RCP Investment, former co-op property there. And so, I think, again, the opportunity for job growth and increased taxable valuation there, they've already basically increased the taxable valuation to somewhere in that neighborhood, $1.5 million to $2 million worth of investment, so pretty significant.
So Scott, our award of contract would be with Midwest Pipe and the County Materials Corporation?
Yep, that's right, yep, and Jason's going to review that with you, but they were the lowest responsive quoter on the project. So you have Midwest Pipe, there's $121,020, and then also County Materials, with portion is added to that for another $28,625. So the total amount is $123,880.25. So as I mentioned, we had in our letter of intent and development agreement with RCP Investments, our cap was $125,000. So fortunately, we're in under the cap.
Any other comments for questions of Scott? Thank you, Scott. Review a quote, bid opening, recommendation on award of contract. Mr. Petersburg, Veenstra, and Kim. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Since your October 4th meeting where you approved the letter of intent, we've wrapped up the design for the storm sewer improvements, and we did solicit quotes from 5 different suppliers or manufacturers for the pipe materials. Quotes were due last Wednesday. We received a total of 4 quotes, 3 for concrete pipe, reinforced concrete pipe, and then 1 for the polypropylene pipe. The bottom 2 quotes were relatively close, and then 2 of the concrete quotes were quite a bit higher on this. But we do recommend that the low quote received was Midwest Pipe Supply for the pipe material. We recommend awarding the contract for the storm sewer pipe materials to Midwest Pipe Supply for $121,020. However, we don't like the plastic flared end sections, so we did talk to County Materials. They agreed to honor their price that they quoted just for the flared end sections for this project. So then County Materials portion of the work would be $2,860.25, making the total material cost for the city $123,880.25. So we do recommend the award for both of those. I did have the investors in this morning to visit about this project a little bit. We also received a quote for the actual installation of the pipe as well on their behalf. We got that quote at the end of last week, went through that with them, and they are comfortable with the quote, so they've awarded the construction portion of the project to Navratil Excavating out of Mason City. That's who's been doing all the work for them thus far on site. So they're going to keep working with them on the installation of this as well. Any questions?
Sounds good. Any questions for Jason, Council? Great project here. All right, entertain a motion to approve an award of contract with regard to purchasing the storm sewer pipe material for RCP Investment Project in the total amount of $123,880.25.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve the award of contract. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. 6D, professional services agreement with SEH Consulting Engineers for traffic safety impact analysis for intersection of 27th Avenue South and South 8th Street. Intro, Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The green sheets in your packet address this item. It's a professional services agreement proposal from SEH in Mason City for assistance with submitting a request to the Department of Transportation for a traffic engineering assistance program for purposes of conducting a traffic study at the intersection the Mayor just mentioned at 27th Avenue South and South 8th Street. The TEAP program provides assurances to local governments identifying cost-effective traffic safety and operational improvements, as well as funding for future implementation activities. There is no local match that's required as part of that. So again, the subject of this study must address an existing traffic safety problem, and TEAP does fund up to 100 hours of consultant time. So those are kind of the parameters of the program. You know, SEH, and Becky is here with SEH. She's going to review the proposal with you a little more detail here in just a moment. But as Councilmember Smith brought this up a couple of meetings ago, and I think it was just on the heels of another accident out at that location, and so we have solicited this proposal for your consideration. Essentially, again, it would involve putting a letter together to the DOT outlining kind of the issues and asking for their assistance through funding and completing one of these traffic engineering assistance program studies. So then if that would be awarded, the study be completed, and then that would provide the framework for future applications through either the traffic safety improvement program or future traffic engineering assistance programs to make actual physical improvements to the intersection if necessary. So all I've got in terms of any background before Becky speaks, unless anyone has any questions.
Council, any questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Review of proposal, Becky Schwab, SEH. Welcome, Becky.
Hi, thank you, Mayor and Council. So to just kind of go over the contents of our proposal, this proposal involves 3 steps initially. As Scott mentioned, this will start with an application to the TEAP program through the Iowa DOT. Again, as mentioned, that would fund 100% of the cost of doing a traffic study. Step 2 would be to actually conduct the traffic study. This would include speed and volume evaluation, turning movement counts, sight distance evaluation, and crash history analysis for the past 5 years. Using this information, SEH would prepare a memorandum, figures, and estimated construction costs for recommended improvements. These improvements would include both potentially a short-term improvement that would be lower cost and easier to implement quickly, and also a longer-term improvement if something more significant was required. Finally, the third step of this initial phase would be to conclude with assisting the city in completing an application to the Traffic Safety Improvement Program. This is also funded through the Iowa DOT, and this would be after we had completed the study, we would attempt to secure funding to actually perform some type of project depending on what that final recommendation was. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions for Becky?
I guess I have one on the schedule.
Sure.
Yeah. It suggests that the data collection and analysis, is most of that actually going to happen in February?
So we're proposing to do the data analysis over the winter, and what we would typically do in those situations is apply a correction factor. The reason for doing that is because our next phase that we would apply for, the application is due in August of the year. We certainly could set back that timeline if we felt that it was beneficial, especially understanding the seasonal fluctuations in the city of Clear Lake. So I certainly understand the concern with that, and that's something we could, certainly discuss and push back. I would still encourage you to look at timing so that we could get the study done and turned in time to still apply for funding in August of that year.
Yeah. Well, that's the only thing that set up a red flag, because I lived here most of my life, and February is a lot different than Memorial Day through Labor Day. And so anyway, I guess you probably know what you're doing, and I would hope if it's going to have a seasonal correction factor, there's one that has something to do with resort communities and not regular communities. So anyway, in the for what it's worth department.
Any other questions, comments?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I would just appreciate Councilman Callinan's comments, and I would echo the same thing. I think he makes a very good point there that I live out in that neighborhood, and the traffic there during the summer is far, far greater than in February. But I did want to ask you a question regarding the short-term and long-term, and I appreciate you framing it that way because, as you probably know, we've got a Stone Cliff subdivision out there, phases 4 and 5, where we're hoping to create a lot of housing opportunities for people. So how will you factor that into your long-term analysis for, potentially dealing with that intersection?
That's a great question, actually, and it's something that we've already talked about internally a little bit, is that we do want to include projected growth rates as we consider what that solution is going to be. And we will rely somewhat on the city to help direct us in what we anticipate those growth rates are going to be, so we make sure that we capture what we think is actually going to be realistic rather than trying to use some other type of generic indicator. We really want to know what's going on in this community specifically.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because there is a short-term issue there in my view that could be addressed through some means that, again, you'll study for us, but I think it'll be a long-term issue with hopefully some growth out there. So thank you to you for coming tonight, and thank you to Scott for quarterbacking this issue and putting it on our agenda. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments, council? Just one thing, Mickey, on the task 1, the TEEP application, that's $2,400. And task 2, the traffic study, 11,400. And the TSIP, or Traffic Safety Improvement Program app, is $2,000 for a total of $15,400, our contract.
Correct.
Great, okay.
And so only that second portion would actually be funded by the TEEP grant. So there would be some cost on the city's part.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate that. Entertain a motion, council, to approve professional services agreement with SCH Consulting Engineers with regard to the traffic safety impact analysis intersection 27th Avenue South and South 8th Street. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we approve the professional services agreement with SCH. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. 6E, Sunset Ridge, second edition to the City of Clear Lake-Iowa. Review, Mr. Flores.
Thanks again, Mayor, Council. The orange sheets in your packet address this. The first orange sheet, run through those real quick. Sunset Ridge Second Edition subdivision, that's a letter of recommendation for council approval signed by the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The backside of that is the resolution approving the final plat for Sunset Ridge Second Edition. The next sheet is a certificate of completion for Sunset Ridge Second Edition from the project engineer on behalf of the developer. Then the white sheets, there are just the first one's a proximity map, just again showing the location of Sunset Ridge Second Edition. The backside of that shows in more detail the lots that were platted out here for the Second Edition. You'll note there are 11 lots there. And then lastly, I included an overall development plan for the Sunset Ridge subdivision. It's been a little while since we probably looked at that, just to refresh your memory. So the first phase you'll see coming in off of Buddy Holly there, West 12th Avenue North, had 15 lots in that first phase. And the second phase, again, as I mentioned, we have 11 lots proposed there that are under consideration for approval tonight with the resolution to approve the final plat. And then the third and final phase, you can see of the future extension of West 12th Avenue North, and then the future road cul-de-sac going north. There will be another 11 lots there. So in total, we're looking at like 37 lots here for this subdivision. So real nice project. Just in way of some background, the council had approved the preliminary plat for this subdivision back at your regular meeting on September 21st, 2020. So just about a year from preliminary plat to where we're at here today for the final plat for Sunset Ridge Second Edition. As I noted, there are 11 lots involved in this phase. They range in size from 16,000 square feet up to 23,000 square feet. And of course also involved extensions of our water distribution system, sanitary sewer collection system, as well as the extension of West 12th Avenue North with the same pavement cross-section that was utilized in the first phase. As I mentioned, the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this at their regular meeting on September 28th and has forwarded on their recommendation that the plat be approved. Property is zoned RM12, which is low-density multifamily residential. And as I mentioned, the Sunset Ridge subdivision located a half-mile north of Highway 18, just west of Buddy Holly Place. And just again, in the way of reference, Sunset Ridge First Edition was platted back in August of 2015 and consisted of 15 building lots. I did also go back and look, just, these are kind of really nice projects. I think sometimes, in the world of economic development, get caught up in some of the bigger projects, whether it's Marriott or Ivy or McKesson or something like that, and kind of forget about these residential subdivision projects, but they have terrific impact for the community. And of course, we're partners in almost all of these subdivisions that happen. And in this case, so I went and looked at that first phase just to give you an idea of, we always kind of measure things in terms of what's it done for the property tax base. So that first phase, there's about 2 lots that are yet undeveloped, maybe 3, but maybe under construction too. And then there's a couple that are partially under construction yet. So we do not have yet full valuation yet on the tax rolls for that first phase. But as it sits currently, with at least probably 2 to 3 more lots coming on full, and then another that are partial will be on full next year, we're at about right at $5 million in new tax base that's created. So I would project by the time the subdivision is fully developed, it'll be in north of $6 million in added value here for this. And that's just on the first phase. So as we roll into the second and third phase, that's quite a bit of development there. So nice project. Not too far away is we had a project here a few years back and involved Pinebrook subdivision. A former council member told me it was the best project he's ever involved in, and most significant project he ever saw on the council. And he saw some big projects, but I went back and looked. We had 40 building lots there, and we got about $15 million in tax base that was added with that Sunset Ridge, and again, Pinebrook, and again fulfilling a really overarching need in the community for housing. So these are really nice projects, and a lot of communities struggle to attract developers. So we've been fortunate that we've had 2 or 3 really good development partners to be able to do these kinds of projects. So.
Wouldn't you say, Scott, that started, Pinebrook was?
Pinebrook, I don't remember what year.
15 years ago.
2006.
2006, yeah.
Any comments, other comments, questions for Scott?
Just one observation. Recently, we had some citizens express concern about the Stone Cliff development expanding without any identifiable green space.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if we're bumping up into the same circumstance with this addition. As I look it over, most of it seems to be building lot, but maybe I'm not.
Yeah, no, they've got a park out there. So if you go out there or drive through it, you'll notice there's a basketball hoop, and they've got some other playground equipment and stuff.
Right.
It's right there, that I think it's called Outlot C,
Okay.
in that area right there. So
Okay.
unfortunately, in my property tax base talk, that's not bringing in much. But no, they do have a park with
All right.
amenities there.
Well,
Yes, yeah.
thought it was worth bringing up.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, real quick, Mayor, I just want to agree with you, Scott. I think the housing is just a crucial issue for us, and new housing and different types of housing to attract population and drive further economic growth. And I think you're right. On the one hand, bigger projects, we love those too. But wouldn't you say this is probably the #1 need in a lot of communities in Iowa to develop new housing?
Yeah, not only in Iowa, certainly our community in North Iowa, but the state and the country. And so sometimes we take it for granted. I mean, there are communities that are chomping at the bit to get developers and trying to figure out ways to do housing. And so the housing starts that we have, it's not typical for most communities.
Yeah, well, that's exciting, and thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments, Council? Thank you, Scott. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2155. This is a resolution approving the final plat for Sunset Ridge Second Edition to the City of Clear Lake, Iowa. Motion, please. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Dana, that we approve Resolution 2155. Is there any discussion? Roll call, Mike.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Dana.
Yes.
And Mark.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0, and Resolution 2155 is duly adopted. Thank you. Number 7, Chief Report.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
And in your opinion, how did the Halloween parade go?
Very well.
Large number?
Great weather, great turnout, well done by the Parks and Wellness Center, and couldn't do that. It's perfect.
Great, great. Under Public Works Report, Mr. Kornberg. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just a couple updates. The 2021 Storm Sewer and Water Main Improvement Project, they got started last week, Tuesday, I believe. They've started getting their water main put in on the 8th Avenue South section and South 11th. Their current plan is to continue putting in water main complete that section. They're still waiting on delivery dates of the storm sewer structures, so if they have not got a delivery date or they're not on site, they'll move up to the North 16th Street, kind of by the middle school, and start water main up there coming off of Main, and then come back and finish storm sewer once those structures get delivered. An update on the alley improvement project down there off Buddy Holly. I believe all the concrete is finished there. I think they were possibly had a couple small pours to do around the buildings, stoops and whatnot to get those put back. But otherwise, I think the majority of everything else was completed, so they should be getting some grading done the rest of the week and hopefully wrapping up most of that. One update on the public works side is we did get all of the, I don't know if I told you last meeting or not, if it happened between there, was we got all the new lights installed down off of City Beach, all the new candy cane Sternberg lights, replaced some of those older versions that we have. So if you're down that way at night, they really light it up. So yeah, those look really good. And then the last item is I have a request to purchase a new 10-foot V-plow for our Ford F1 or F450. So that's our 1-ton dump bed truck that we just bought the slide and sander for. This piece of equipment is going to help us, better equip us to maintain our parking lots and alleys, especially with the addition of the wellness center and the attention that'll probably need during the day, especially during the business hours that they're open. We really don't have anything small enough to be in those parking lots kind of all the time. So being able to put that V-plow on that truck, scoop snow out of that parking lot, and then also sand it and salt it while we're in there will be very efficient and much needed. It'll also give us a piece of equipment to pop around and do some other small areas. The Parks and Rec will be able to use it for some other stuff as well. So we did go out and get bids for these. We received 3 bids. Larry Elwood Construction, Christ Steel Truck and Equipment, and Stellar Truck and Trailer. Larry Elwood and Christ Steel both bid a Boss 10-foot V-plow. Both of their bids were, one was $10,210, the other one was $10,853, and then Stellar Truck and Trailer bid a 10-foot Myers V-plow, and they have one on the lot actually, and their bid installed cost was $7,700. Our recommendation to go with Stellar Truck and Trailer. They could have that installed and equipped for us, and they're right there in Mason City for any needs that we have. Very good company to work with. So if you have any questions about
I was going to
that.
mention, Jeremy, so the new one's got that articulating, so it kind of cups and, does
Right, yeah, so especially when you're in a parking lot and once cars start getting parked in there, what we currently have now is just a straight side-to-side plow. So there's no way if you're going down those lots during the day, you're just going to be piling up snow behind cars, chasing windrows all through that parking lot. So this gives the ability to cup that snow, scoop it, push it all the way to one end. We've had conversations with the school already just on kind of operations and best practices, you know, because they kind of have an idea of the winds and stuff there. We'll probably haul out every bit of snow in that parking lot after every event, just so that we maintain as much parking space as we can in there. During the events, we'll probably pile it either to the east or the south, just for access. And then as soon as we can, once we're done with our uptown operations, we'd be down there scooping it out of there. So, and I think Parks and Wellness Center have devised a strategy for their sidewalks and everything as well. So, any questions for me?
Now we just need the snow.
No, we don't.
My thunder there.
I apologize.
Definitely wait until, everybody likes White Christmas, but I could wait until January or something.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Under Mayor's report, we have a date for the council workshop, November 4th, 2021, right here at City Hall in the council chambers at 8 a.m. Just a reminder for all of us in the city of Clear Lake that tomorrow is the city and school election day. And if you're in Ward 1, your location is the Zion Church. If you're in Ward 2, it's right here at City Hall. And Ward 3 will be at the Church of Christ. Polls are open 7 a.m. and are closed at 8 p.m. That's both city and school election tomorrow. What's that?
Do we have to take any action on that plow? Or is that-
Oh, we do have an action on your plow, huh? If you want that, or is?
Well, yeah, we would like it.
Just a motion, yeah.
Yeah,
Find a motion on it. All right.
We what?
Yeah,
We need a motion, yeah.
It was, the price was $7,700.
Anyway, let's back up here then a little bit. Entertain a motion to approve the purchase of the 10-foot V-plow for the Ford F-450 in the amount of $7,700 from Stellar Truck and Trailing in Mason City. Motion, please.
So offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Mark, that we approve that purchase. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Is there a discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries. We have a gentleman here in the audience with the Boy Scouts, I assume. I assume you're working on a merit badge? And what badge is that?
Citizenship in the community.
Uh-huh. And your name, first name? Brent. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Thanks, and good luck on that badge. All right, number 10, Wellness Center Director report. Our Assistant Director is with us tonight, Mary Jo Verba. Welcome, Mary Jo.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, Adam wasn't able to be here tonight, so you guys are lucky to have me. I'll give you a quick construction update. I believe Adam talked to you guys 2 weeks ago about that cowl wall on the south side of the facility. So that is still delayed to be here around the end of November, early December, so that they can get that installed. The temporary wall is supposed to be being put into place so that we can turn on our HVAC system here in the next couple weeks, because as you know, we need the facility heated before we can start putting that the rec center flooring in with the courts and the track on that main facility in the main area. So that's kind of where we're at as far as the wall is supposed to be getting here at the end of the month or early December. And I believe it shouldn't take more than a week for that to get installed. And so once it's here, it sounds like it's a pretty slick process to get that installed. But in the meantime, that temporary wall is supposed to be going up so that we can turn on the heat, because that snow better not be coming anytime soon. But so we can turn on the heat so we can get those floors in and keep the construction moving. Looks like the parking lots and the sidewalks should be finalized this week. I know that if you've driven by the facility lately, the sidewalks are pretty much done, but they're going to be getting that parking lot done this week. And then sounds like they're going to continue to wrap up the ductwork and the interior painting. I don't know. I've been in there. I was in there last week, and I could tell a lot of the painting had been completed, but I know there's still some to be done. I do want to touch on the Halloween parade since you brought it up. That was a success. I think it's my first time attending it, but so I have nothing to compare it to. But it looked like a lot of happy kids, a lot of awesome costumes, a lot of fun had. Thanks to the PD and the fire department for their involvement. You know, Chief was taking lots of pictures and all that kind of stuff. So it was a pretty successful event, and the weather couldn't have been.
I'd just say I've been here 20 years. I think that's the biggest turnout that I've seen. You know, so I think with Creighton's 3 kids and Adam's 3 kids, the numbers were up a little bit. but I think with your experience with social media, getting it out there, it was a packed, it was a full house. So it was great.
Yeah, I was running around literally like a chicken with no, just kidding. I had a chicken costume on. So I did participate in the costume. And we did end up, when we wrapped things up down at City Park, we had a couple prizes for our costume contest winners and stuff like that. And I was thoroughly impressed. I underestimated the creativity of a lot of our kids and families with those costumes. So that was a lot of fun. And then we do have a request to purchase bleachers and benches for the facility coming up. That information is that hot pink paperwork towards the end of your packet. So we will need the bleachers for primarily our recreation program. Whenever we have any of our rec basketball or volleyball or any of those types of things going on, if we open up some pickleball opportunities, you know, maybe some tennis. So we do need to have those bleachers and benches. Benches will be used primarily for the kids and participants and coaches and stuff like that. But the bleachers will also be used, and benches will be used when we do rent out the facility for like club tournaments and stuff. I foresee that happening on the weekends for maybe like a volleyball club tournament, or if in the case we do rent out the entire field house for like a track meet. So we're going to need those bleachers and benches to accommodate the people for that too. So that is our request. The bid that we got, the best bid that we got was from Cunningham Recreation, and that information is on those hot pink sheets in the back.
It's my understanding that we have people, if they need to be put together or whatever.
We will be able to do that.
Do
Yep,
that.
our rec, or parks and rec staff will be able. These are the tilt and roll, so they'll be easily moved into place and then back into storage. So, and it will be easily. It's my understanding that it'll be fairly easy to unload them and offload them into our facility. So that won't add any additional cost or anything like that to the.
How many levels are there?
There's 3.
3
So
levels.
it's 3 levels up, so it won't be too high or too, the safety component of having it too big.
And they'll be able to be slid up and down.
Yep, so
Where-
we
wherever-
tilt them up, and then you just basically wheel them to the location, and then you can tilt them back down. You can lock them up in place and then tilt them back down. And then we'll be able to store them, obviously, when we don't need them, but it'll be nice to be able to have the seating for spectators. Because we don't want to, obviously, as you guys know, we don't want to be closing our walking track upstairs for any reason to have spectators upstairs looking down on events. So we want the seating on the field house level so that we can maintain the fitness center, or the upstairs track and the fitness facility to be open for the community.
It'll be very helpful for tournaments, et cetera, that we have.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions? That's all I got.
I'm always playing the devil's advocate here, so everybody says, oh boy, why didn't he just shut up? But anyway, obviously at some point the school will probably use these bleachers also for their events.
Yeah, they may have an event, like a volleyball tournament or
Well,
a basketball tournament could
Or
potentially.
maybe a track meet.
If they, well, I
Well,
don't know
it's
if they
an
would have a
indoor
track
track.
meet. It is an indoor track.
It's
but-
a 200-meter competition track. If they don't use it for an indoor track meet, somebody's wasting a lot of money here.
We'll have a lot of people interested, especially since we have the jump.
Yeah, well, anyway, I guess playing the devil's advocate, and I'm not in on the planning meetings, so maybe it's just my ignorance here. But the expense of the bleachers seems like maybe something that should be shared by both the school district and the city. But maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Anybody else have a comment?
Conversations have been had. I haven't been a part of
Okay,
them.
well, and I haven't either, and that's why I'm asking the questions. I'm I taught in that school for decades, so I'm not anti-school, but I sit here as a city councilman and try to look out for the interest of the city. So I think some of these questions need to be asked, and apparently no one really knows the answer on this one.
I mean, I think overwhelmingly that the use is going to be for us. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
The majority of it's going to be
All
the
right.
rec.
That's fine. That's why I asked the question. And every once in a while, someone's got to ask a question.
Any other comments, council? Okay, we have a request here. Is there a motion to purchase the bleachers and benches from Cunningham Recreation for $19,385.80?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Dana, that we approve the request for the bleachers and benches from Cunningham Recreation. Is there any discussion, further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you, Mayor Joe. Mr. Flory, City Administrator's report.
Just a couple things here real quick, Your Honor. I wanted to give you an update on the Consolidated Urban Renewal Plan Amendment. We talked about that three meetings now. And so if you remember, we had to have a consultation meeting with the other affected taxing entities of the county. So we had that last Friday. That went fine. And then also we had to have the plan presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. And we did that last Tuesday. And so they will be forwarding on their recommendation that the plan amendment be adopted by the council at your next meeting, which would be November 15th when we have the hearing on that proposal. So just wanted to update you on those two steps, that those were successfully completed. And also just one other thing, the Ivy site plan for that project was approved Tuesday night, the 26th at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting there as well. And so had a real good, thorough discussion on that. We had representatives of the landowner who's also doing a plat for further development. We had representatives from the grocery store on, their civil engineer, their president of land acquisition. We had traffic engineering on. So we had a lot of folks on the call. It was a very productive meeting, I thought. So things are very, very positive on that and full steam ahead. And the last I've talked to Hy-Vee, which is very recently, their hope is that they'll be able to break ground prior to December 1st. So that's, basically 30 days, so it's pretty quick. I think they're anticipating closing on the land yet this month and then starting pretty quick. So their anticipated date for opening is still August, September timeframe for next year. So.
Questions for Mr. Flory, council? Thank you, Scott. Director of Finance, Creighton, anything? Nothing tonight. Is there any other business, council? Meeting adjourned. Go Giants.